How to draw a tonal drawing of your finger. Hi everyone. Okay, so today we're going to be drawing our finger, and I want you to pay special attention to the cylindrical nature of your finger. So you're going to be trying hard to use contour lines or contour hatching again to suggest the 3D form of your finger. Now, the other thing I want you to consider is you want to have a good light source coming from one side. I drew my finger with a lamp shining down on the left hand side, and that meant that I had a strong shadow on the right hand side. So first thing you need is a sharp pencil. Second thing you need is your finger. And let's have a look at the video and then you can begin your drawing. Okay, so the first thing we need to think about when we're drawing a finger is that we have 3 bones in a finger, or 3 digits. And that's what's going to make up the underlying structure of the thing that we're going to draw. So at this stage I'm starting to draw the base of my finger, then the middle digit there, and then the top digit where my fingernail is. Now on my finger, the fingernail looks like it's about halfway down the top digit, the smallest bone in my finger. This is my forefinger I'm drawing on my left hand. Okay, so next part I'm going to be doing is drawing down the lines of the dark tones on my finger. So you can see I've put a line down the right and left side there. And next I'm going to use that right line to be the guide for my contour hatching that describes the dark tone running down the side of my forefinger. Now you can see with the hatching I am curving it around like it's going underneath my finger, and that's going to help give me a sense of form in the rest of the drawing. So I haven't described, but my finger is essentially being lit from the left hand side. So you're going to see on the right hand side a shadow coming up on the surface of the table that my hand was on, so on the right hand side. Now even though the light is shining from the left, there's still a dark edge to my finger where the light isn't shining brightest on it and the table appears brighter. So to sort of try and address now the issue of tonal balance within my drawing, I've started to add a hatched line, not a contour hatched line, a hatched line down the edge to represent the flat surface of the drawing. And this is where the darkest tone was, the shadow beside my finger. Darker than any shadow on my finger. And so I decided to then do a cross-hatched line down that again to make it even darker. And then that means I can start to now look and compare between the darkest area of my drawing, where my finger is meeting the table, and I can start to look at my finger then and work out what areas are darker and what areas are lighter. So I'm going to then add some tone to the top of my finger on the right hand side, just on the edge of that mid-tone I've put curving around the right hand side of my finger, because that was the darkest place I could see. However, it looks like I am still looking now at my knuckle, where my finger is joining into my hand. Yeah, the knuckle sort of bulging out a little bit. Drawing for me is very much about looking at the relationships of different areas of the thing that I'm looking at and readdressing those relationships. So it's not very much a step-by-step process, as you might notice. It's in fact looking at the area, like I've just got down to the base of my finger there, and then starting to look in more detail now at the structure of my knuckle. Now, here we go. This is the darker area of my finger that I am now choosing to render again with a contour hatch line to emphasize the form in my finger. And I'm adding a bit of shading to the right hand side of my fingernail and to the nail bed on the right hand side there as well, because that's quite a dark area, and on the left hand side. and a little bit of detail again just at the top of the nail to give it more definition. Now I'm using a much lighter line, holding the pencil more lightly, and I'm creating a light to mid-tone rendering going around the top surface of my finger to again give it the sense that it is a cylinder, and I am trying to describe that through the direction of my pencils. Okay, so just looking at the right hand side of my finger, you can see that where you think the darkest tone would be, down the far right hand side where the kind of contour lines are curving underneath my finger, right beside the darkest tone of the table, you would think that would be the darkest area. However, there's a reflection coming off of the table if you pay careful attention, if you've got a white table like I do, and so then you can see that the darkest area is actually a bit higher up. It's not running flush down the edge of my finger. Now at this stage what I'm doing is I'm starting to add some of the texture, some of the wrinkles, to give us again a sense of realism to my finger. So it's not just a straight sausage like cylinder. In fact, it has wrinkles where the digits have flexed and stretched the skin that runs over my finger, and so I then have wrinkles that run across horizontally there. A bit more attention to the fingernail. You could use a rubber maybe to make some highlights there. Some very careful shading to make it seem more smooth, because your nail is a more smooth surface. And at this stage I was again thinking my finger's hanging in space, and I need to think again about how the finger is actually connecting to my hand, to my body. So I'm starting now to try and draw the knuckle shape that makes up the bone structure where my finger fuses onto my hand. And you can see there's a slight line, sort of diagonal line coming across there, and that is the area where my tendon has created a shadow. So this means adding cross-hatching to the surface of the table, and then final sort of small adjustment to the tone on my finger, specifically thinking about the left hand side of my finger, where even though the light was shining on the left hand side, you could still see that there's a kind of higher contrast between the tone of my finger and the white table underneath. So that's what I just tried to do here in the final stages. Okay, so that's how to draw a finger, and hopefully that's been useful for you. So off you go, your turn to do it now, and I look forward to seeing the results. Goodbye. Bye. 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 Bye.